What if everything you thought you knew about loyalty, power, and revolution was about to be shattered? Pierce Brown's Golden Sun doesn't just continue the Red Rising saga, it obliterates every expectation you had and rebuilds them into something far more complex and devastating. Today, we're diving deep into this masterpiece that transformed a simple rebellion story into a galactic chess game where every move could mean life or death for entire civilizations. Pierce Brown's Golden Sun stands as the explosive second installment in the Red Rising trilogy, a science fiction epic that redefined the young adult dystopian genre when it burst onto the literary scene. Published in 2014, this novel catapulted Brown from promising newcomer to literary powerhouse, proving that sequels could not only match their predecessors, but completely transcend them. The book operates on multiple levels simultaneously, functioning as both intimate character study and sprawling space opera. Brown crafts a narrative that seamlessly blends brutal political intrigue with deeply personal stakes, creating a reading experience that feels both epic in scope and intensely human in its emotional core. What sets Golden Sun apart from typical dystopian fiction is its refusal to offer simple solutions or clear moral boundaries. The novel's greatest strength lies in its complete willingness to subvert reader expectations at every turn. Brown doesn't merely continue Darrow's story, he systematically deconstructs everything established in the first book and rebuilds it into something far more sophisticated. The author displays remarkable courage in his storytelling choices, never hesitating to put beloved characters in genuine peril or force his protagonist to make impossible decisions with devastating consequences. Golden Sun operates as both sequel and standalone masterpiece, deepening the world building established in Red Rising while introducing entirely new dimensions of complexity. Brown's writing matured significantly between books, showcasing enhanced character development and more nuanced exploration of themes like power, sacrifice, and the true cost of revolution. 2 years have passed since Darrow's triumph at the Institute, and the young red-turned Reaper finds himself navigating the treacherous waters of Gold Society as a peerless Scard. No longer the simple mine worker from Lycos, Darrow must maintain his dangerous masquerade while secretly working to bring down the very system that now embraces him as one of their own. The political landscape has shifted dramatically, with the Sovereign growing increasingly suspicious of potential threats to her authority. Darrow discovers that his position as a Gold, while providing unprecedented access to the ruling class, also places him under constant scrutiny from those who would destroy him if his true identity were revealed. The weight of leading a revolution while maintaining his cover creates an almost unbearable tension that permeates every interaction. Augustus, Darrow's patron and father figure, faces his own mounting challenges as rivals circle like vultures, seeking to exploit any perceived weakness. The complex relationship between Augustus and Darrow deepens, blurring the lines between genuine affection and calculated manipulation. Meanwhile, Darrow must navigate relationships with other characters who view him through the lens of their own agendas and desires. The Sons of Ares, the revolutionary organisation Darrow serves, demand increasingly dangerous missions that threaten to expose his true nature. Each assignment forces him deeper into moral ambiguity, requiring actions that challenge his fundamental beliefs about right and wrong. The organisation itself reveals layers of complexity, with competing factions and hidden agendas that make trust a luxury Darrow cannot afford. As external pressures mount and internal conflicts intensify, Darrow faces impossible choices that will determine not only his own fate, but the future of human civilization. The novel builds toward a climactic confrontation that reshapes the entire power structure of the society, leaving no character unchanged and no assumption unchallenged. The Sovereign's Gala represents the first major turning point, where Brown masterfully demonstrates how far Darrow has evolved from his origins. This elaborate social gathering serves as more than mere world building. It becomes a battlefield where words carry the same deadly weight as razors. Darrow must navigate conversations laden with hidden meanings while maintaining his carefully constructed persona, all while gathering intelligence crucial to the rebellion's success. Augustus's political manoeuvring takes centre stage as he attempts to consolidate power against increasingly aggressive rivals. The complex relationship between mentor and protege deepens as Augustus begins treating Darrow less like a tool and more like a true heir. However, this growing bond creates new vulnerabilities that enemies are quick to exploit, forcing both characters to question where loyalty ends and manipulation begins. The introduction of the Iron Rain military campaign fundamentally changes the novel's scope and stakes. Brown transforms what could have been simple space battles into complex tactical puzzles, where every decision carries massive consequences. Darrow's role in these conflicts forces him to confront the reality that revolution requires not just courage, but the willingness to sacrifice others for the greater good. Cassius's return creates devastating emotional turbulence that threatens to derail everything Darrow has worked to achieve. Their former friendship, now poisoned by betrayal and loss, becomes a source of constant tension that affects every aspect of Darrow's mission. Brown uses this relationship to explore themes of forgiveness, guilt, and the impossibility of returning to innocence once certain lines have been crossed. The betrayal that rocks the Sons of Ares reveals the organisation's internal fractures and competing philosophies about revolution. Some members believe in gradual change, while others demand immediate violent transformation. This schism forces Darrow to choose not just sides, but fundamental approaches to creating change, with each choice carrying the potential to save or doom millions of lives. Roki's character development serves as a mirror to Darrow's own transformation, showing how the same circumstances can lead different people down radically different paths. Their evolving relationship becomes a study in how war changes people, sometimes bringing out nobility and other times revealing darkness that was always present beneath the surface. The climactic battle sequence doesn't merely serve as action spectacle, but as the culmination of every character arc and thematic element Brown has carefully constructed throughout the novel. Every alliance, betrayal and sacrifice leads inevitably to this moment where the fate of human civilization hangs in the balance, and victory comes at a price that makes readers question whether it was worth paying. The devastating conclusion redefines everything readers thought they understood about the series, setting up conflicts and moral questions that will resonate throughout the remainder of the trilogy. Brown refuses to provide easy answers or comfortable resolutions, instead leaving characters and readers alike to grapple with the true cost of their choices. Leadership requires making impossible choices that often contradict personal values and desires. Darrow's journey illustrates how true leaders must sometimes sacrifice their own moral comfort to serve a greater purpose, even when those decisions haunt them forever. The novel demonstrates that effective leadership isn't about maintaining personal purity, but about accepting responsibility for outcomes regardless of personal cost. Revolutionary movements inevitably face internal conflicts that can be more dangerous than external enemies. The Sons of Ares' internal struggles show how different visions of change can fracture even the most dedicated organisations. Brown reveals the revolution isn't simply about overthrowing existing power, but about managing the competing interests and philosophies within revolutionary movements themselves. Identity becomes fluid when survival depends on deception, forcing individuals to question which version of themselves represents their true nature. Darrow's struggle to maintain his authentic self while living as a Gold explores the psychological toll of extended deception. The novel suggests that identity isn't fixed, but constantly evolving based on circumstances and choices. Power corrupts not through dramatic transformation, but through gradual compromise and rationalization of increasingly questionable actions. Characters throughout the novel demonstrate how small moral concessions accumulate into major ethical breaches. Brown illustrates that corruption rarely announces itself, but creeps in through seemingly reasonable justifications for necessary evils. Loyalty becomes complicated when multiple competing loyalties demand contradictory actions and sacrifices. Darrow must balance loyalty to his origins, his mission, his friends, and his adopted family, often finding these loyalties in direct conflict. The novel explores how mature individuals navigate competing obligations without betraying their fundamental principles. War reveals a character rather than creating it, stripping away pretense to expose what individuals truly value when everything is at stake. The military campaigns force every character to confront their deepest beliefs about sacrifice, duty, and the value of human life. Brown shows that extreme circumstances don't change people so much as reveal who they always were beneath social conditioning. Friendship can survive betrayal but never returns to its original form, instead evolving into something more complex and potentially more valuable. The relationship between Darrow and various characters demonstrates how broken trust can sometimes be rebuilt into something stronger than the original bond. The novel suggests that forgiveness isn't about forgetting, but about choosing to move forward despite past wounds. Mentorship involves preparing successors to eventually surpass their teachers, even when that growth threatens the mentor's own position and beliefs. Augustus's relationship with Darrow exemplifies how effective mentorship requires accepting that students will eventually make choices their teachers wouldn't approve of. The novel shows that true mentorship means empowering others to think independently rather than creating copies of oneself. The price of change often exceeds what revolutionaries initially expect to pay, forcing them to continually re-evaluate whether their goals justify their methods. Characters throughout the novel must repeatedly decide whether to continue fighting as costs escalate beyond original projections. Brown suggests that successful revolutionaries must be willing to pay prices they never imagined when they began their journey. Success in complex political environments requires understanding that every ally is also a potential enemy and every enemy a potential ally. The constantly shifting alliances throughout the novel demonstrate that political survival depends on flexibility rather than rigid loyalty. The book teaches that effective political operators must maintain emotional distance while building strategic relationships. Golden Sun represents more than just a successful sequel. It stands as a masterclass in escalating stakes while deepening character complexity. Pierce Brown crafts a narrative that rewards careful readers while remaining accessible to those seeking pure entertainment, achieving that rare balance between literary sophistication and page-turning excitement that defines truly exceptional science fiction. The novel's greatest achievement lies in its complete commitment to exploring the true cost of revolution without flinching from uncomfortable truths. Brown refuses to romanticize warfare or political upheaval, instead presenting them as necessary evils that exact terrible prices from everyone involved. This unflinching honesty elevates the material above typical dystopian fiction into something approaching genuine literature. What makes Golden Sun truly special is its understanding that readers want to be challenged rather than merely entertained. Brown doesn't hesitate to put beloved characters in genuine danger or force his protagonist to make decisions that compromise his moral purity. This willingness to risk reader comfort in service of authentic storytelling creates an experience that lingers long after the final page. The novel succeeds because it treats its themes with the seriousness they deserve while never losing sight of its primary obligation to tell a compelling story. Every political maneuver serves character development, every battle advances thematic exploration, and every relationship complicates our understanding of loyalty and betrayal. Golden Sun proves that science fiction, at its best, doesn't just imagine different worlds, but helps us understand our own more clearly.